Today we have a lot of stories to get into, including a new Switch Online update that added 4 Game Boy games to the service. There are, for some reason, rumors about another Zelda game coming out this year. I have some very specific thoughts on that we will get into. I'm seeing a lot of people talking like, oh my gosh, a new Zelda game could be coming out later this year. We'll get to that. Nintendo today gave us some more information on Game Chat, as well as the mouse sensitivity options. Sonic Racing Crossworlds might be closer than we think to releasing. Fantasy Life is a massive hit, more than I think anybody was really expecting, and as we discussed a couple of weeks ago, an Elden Ring movie is actually happening. That's kind of nuts. So that's what we're getting into today. Of course, if you are new here and you enjoy Nintendo Switch 2 news and coverage leading up to the release of the console, I would appreciate you liking the video and subscribing. Let's get into it. Alrighty folks, welcome back to the channel. I hope your day is going well. So I wanted to cover a bunch of different topics today, mostly that Zelda topic though. I've seen a lot of people talking about some sort of Zelda game coming out later this year. I saw Arlo was talking about it as well as some others, and well, I just don't think there's any chances another Zelda game coming out this year, but we will get to that in just a second. First up, we did have a new Switch Online update late last night that added 4 more Game Boy games to the lineup, and I was actually pretty happy about this because I didn't think they would do this. So first up, we have the Sword of Hope. This is like an old school dungeon crawling game where it's like, you know, you press an arrow when you go to another screen. We have Kirby's Star Stacker on Switch Online, Gradius, the Interstellar Assault, as well as Survival Kids. Now, if Survival Kids sounds familiar to you, that is because Survival Kids is a Konami game on Game Boy that is getting rebooted with a new entry as a Switch 2 launch title. That is a Switch 2 exclusive as far as we know, on launch day for Switch 2 on June 5th. So I guess to get us ready for Survival Kids on Switch 2, they were like, hey, we should put the original Game Boy Color Survival Kids on Switch Online. So if you have any interest in the new Survival Kids, I guess check this out. I played it for a few minutes. It's not that good, but you know, it's cool that they added it so that you can get a little bit of a history there before you get the new game in just a few weeks. Also, it's just always great to see more of the Kirby Game Boy lineup finally coming over. I feel like there's so many Kirby Game Boy games. I'm happy that Star Stacker got added. Next, let's go over 2 updates that we got from the Nintendo Today app over the past couple of days. First up, we had the options for mouse sensitivity in the settings. Just something small, wanted to share it here. In the system settings for Switch 2, you can change the sensitivity of your mouse cursor from high to medium to low. I feel like this could be a little bit better. Like, it could be like a sliding thing where there's way more in-between options, but still nice to see that you can change it at all. Knowing Nintendo, it would be one of those things where it's like, oh, there's one setting. So there are some sensitivity options for your mouse. They say here it may not apply to all software, so I imagine developers can also adjust this as they want to in, you know, whatever game they're making if they want to make it a little bit faster. But then I think more interestingly, I was worried about this. We had the different screen sizes that you can use in Game Chat. I was wondering because every time we've seen Game Chat on Switch 2, it has been with all 4 screens very big on the bottom, and that is not ideal. So in this morning's Nintendo Today update, Oatmeal Dome posted these images, but you can find it in the app. He says, Switch 2, you can choose between 3 game screen sizes when using Game Chat: standard, expanded, and full screen, which is nice to know that you can actually change the size of the screen. It makes sense, but once again, they had only shown it with the big boxes of your friends' screens underneath, so I was wondering. So we have the screen layout options here: standard, expand main screen, and full screen. So you can have full screen and still be in a party chat with your friends. So this is the one they've been showing, where there's like really big boxes. You can make those a little bit smaller. This makes the most sense, I think, if you really want to see what your friends are doing, because it doesn't take up too much real estate. And then also, yes, you can play it in Game Chat with your friends while the Switch main screen is in full screen mode. You don't have to worry about all these different boxes down here. So nice to know there are options. It would be nice if they gave maybe some different backgrounds here. I know they never did that for Switch Online NSO games, but like just the black borders, I don't know. I feel like they can make this look a little bit prettier. And as you can see, there are some other options here: chat, audio, camera, video settings, screen sharing settings, and accessibility. So I don't think we've seen a good look at those yet. I'm sure maybe in the coming days we will see those exact options. But yeah, Game Chat, I'm just happy you can actually change the size of the screen, because this is hideous. I don't want to play any game like this. And speaking of mouse controls, I just wanted to highlight this. Koei Tecmo released I think it was like an hour-long live stream showing off Nobunaga's Ambition Awakening on Switch 2, specifically highlighting all of the mouse controls, which look great. This is a strategy game. You're going to want to have mouse controls here. I feel like out of every launch title, this might be the least talked about. I feel like no one's talking about this game, but I wanted to show off some of this mouse gameplay here. But also, more importantly, if you are interested in this game, which once again I kind of doubt that many people watching this video are, they have added it for pre-order on the Nintendo web store. So if you go on the Nintendo store on your computer or whatever, you can actually pre-order this game. It's a little bit pricier than I expected. So there's a $70 edition. This is just the standard. It says complete edition. That's the title of the game. So $70. I assume this includes all of the DLC from the original release. But what I really wanted to highlight here, and this just shows Koei Tecmo and how they do their digital bundles. There's a $110 edition. And I was like, okay, the collector set, what does that even mean? And I was reading through it. It's okay. So it adds the Ko Shibusawa 40th anniversary commemorative officer data set. I assume that's in-game something. But then you also just have an art book and a commemorative book and a digital soundtrack. So unless I'm missing something, you're paying $40 for like a digital art book and I guess maybe one piece of in-game content. This 40th anniversary commemorative officer set. That's crazy. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's more DLC that's included in this, but $110, that's rough, man. Okay, next up, let's talk about the main topic of the show. So I've seen so many people talking about this, and I'm just left scratching my head wondering why. You all know me. You know I love speculation. I do so many videos throughout the year being like, okay, what game is going to release here? What game is going to release when? What is the anticipated slate of Nintendo first-party games for any given year? I do that all the time. I love speculation. However, sometimes I feel like the speculation just kind of teeters towards being absolutely nonsensical, and I feel like that's what happened in the past 24 hours. So, a couple of days ago, there was this YouTuber who seemingly leaked some sort of marketing plan for Nintendo Switch 2 in Italy. And in the video, which is now taken down, I'm just going to show it here. I don't think Nintendo's going to take this down, but we will see. They showed off some slides for what they plan on doing. And as you can see here, it's showing some kiosks, what you would see at like a PAX West or something, any sort of in-person hands-on game events. And in this image, I'll zoom it in, you can see a screen for a demo kiosk that says, well, for one, you can see one that's playing Mario Odyssey, but you can also see one that says Zelda 2025. And I have seen multiple people making videos about this, talking about this, like, oh my goodness, there's a secret Zelda game coming out later this year that we don't know about. That's clickbait. There is not another Zelda game. I would be willing to bet money that there is not another Zelda game coming out this year, and here's why. Currently, we have both Zelda remasters on June 5th, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Wind Waker is being added to NSO. We already know about Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, which is confirmed for holiday 2025. We know it's coming out this year, thanks to Koei Tecmo's kind of investor meeting and information from them. So we know it's coming out this year. It's not going to be slipped to 2026. It is a holiday game this year. And then also, because this image is Echoes of Wisdom, first of all, we just got a 2D Zelda game. They're just reusing our assets. It's flipped, but it is the Echoes of Wisdom key art. At first, I was like, okay, well, maybe we would get a Switch 2 edition of Echoes of Wisdom. That could make sense. We never got DLC for that game. But no, on June 5th, we're also getting a patch for that game that makes it run better and at a higher resolution. Same thing with Link's Awakening. So we are, if you count those patches, we're kind of getting 6 Zelda games already this year. Now, you tell me, do you think it makes any sense at all for another Zelda game to come out this year? Because I just can't see how that would slot in. The only thing would be if an Ocarina of Time remake was being made by some secret team that we don't know about. However, if we're getting Ocarina of Time remake, I think the standard theory would be either it's being co-developed by the main Zelda team, EPD3, and Grezzo. Maybe Tantalus could be involved, but they just did Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. Grezzo, of course, just did Echoes of Wisdom. The 3D Zelda team just did Tears of the Kingdom and these 4K patches, and, you know, I'm sure they're working on the next new 3D Zelda. So unless they brought a new team in, logistically speaking, there is no space for another Zelda game this year. We're already getting more Zelda content in 2025 than I think we've ever gotten in any other year. Someone replied to me, it's literally that SpongeBob Patrick meme of like, I'm hungry, you ate all my chocolate, and his face is covered in chocolate, I want more. It's like, dude, we're getting so much Zelda this year. Why are we talking about there being another Zelda game this year? I think it's possible that we get to a June or even September Direct, and maybe they tease another Zelda game for 2026, maybe. But 2025, the calendar's full, man. We have enough Zelda right now to not have to worry about it. But we also had Arlo discussing it in a video he posted yesterday, where he says he shared the marketing presentation. I'm assuming it's the same thing, because he talks about the little kiosk that says Zelda 2025. We're not getting another Zelda game this year. I don't think there's any reason to think that. I saw some people saying maybe it could be Wind Waker HD on Switch 1. Maybe? But, like, why would they release Wind Waker on NSO for Switch 2 a few months prior? I'm not going to rule out the existence of Wind Waker HD on Switch 1. I've actually talked about how I think that might come out next year as a Switch 1 game. But I don't think you would put Wind Waker on GameCube NSO a couple of months prior. That just feels like weird marketing. That doesn't feel right. Granted, you can never predict Nintendo. That is what we definitely need to understand here. Nintendo can do whatever they want, but we have so many Zelda games this year to predict another one on top of Hyrule Warriors, which is a new Zelda game that will sell millions of copies. It just feels a little foolish. But yeah, I mean, you all know me. I love my speculation. I think there will be more games we don't know about coming out later this year that we will find out about in a June Direct. Maybe they could still do an Echoes of Wisdom Switch 2 edition, but that just feels weird since it's getting a free patch. We'll have to see how the free patches kind of like dictate whether or not games get Switch 2 editions, right? Could we see a Switch 2 edition of ARMS down the road, even though it's getting a patch? Maybe. But I think we're good on Zelda this year. We don't need any more. And personally, I would be kind of surprised if we see another new Zelda release, be that a remake, a remaster, whatever, the Oracle games. I'd be kind of surprised if we see another one before holiday 2026, around that time, because I made videos before the Switch 2 event. I was expecting them to kind of space out Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and Hyrule Warriors, which, you know, Hyrule Warriors is one that I'd been predicting for a while. I was pretty confident that would be the Switch 2 game this year, and I was right about that. I didn't think they would also do the 4K remasters on top of it, on top of Wind Waker coming to NSO, on top of the free patches for Link's Awakening and Echoes of Wisdom. I don't know, man. I just feel like, listen, I love speculation, you all know that, but there does come a point where it's almost so nonsensical that to even humor the idea with any serious intent is just, it's kind of inherently clickbait. We're not getting another Zelda game this year. There's no reason to think that. This is just a placeholder with, it literally is Echoes of Wisdom art. If it was different art, maybe. Does the Odyssey screenshot mean we're getting Mario Odyssey 2 this year? I don't think so. Enough of the Zelda talk, though. We did have a rating pop up in Australia the other day for Sonic Racing Crossworlds, which some think might indicate a much more imminent release than we were expecting. And usually when a game is rated, that does mean it is pretty close to release. However, I saw people on this Reddit thread talking about, oh, it might come out like around Mario Kart World. Listen, Sonic games are holiday games. They almost always release in October or November. Maybe we could see it release a little bit later in the summer. Sega has to know if they release Racing Crossworlds within a 2-month period of Mario Kart World, that's just a bad idea. Even with Mario Kart being 80 and being exclusive to Switch 2, you don't release both of those kart racers. Frankly, they shouldn't be releasing it in the same year, because no matter what, it's going to have very stark comparisons to Mario Kart World and very aggressive comparisons. And maybe Sonic will be better, but the point is, Mario's a bigger deal. Mario Kart World will sell 10 to 1 at least what Sonic Racing Crossworlds does. It's going to get the attention this year. Sonic Racing Crossworlds, I'm expecting an October or November release. That's when Sonic normally releases, but it has been rated, and I do think we will get a release date here in the next couple of weeks, probably at Summer Games Fest, which is on Friday, June 6th, right? It's the day after the Switch 2 releases, so we should get a release date there, and maybe also confirmation that it's coming to Switch 2. We actually don't have this game confirmed for Switch 2, but considering that Sonic Shadow Generations is coming, considering Sega has that Puyo Puyo Tetris game, as well as Yakuza 0 and the Raito remaster from Atlas, I think it's a safe assumption that Sonic Racing Crossworlds will make its way to Switch 2 natively, instead of just being, you know, playing the Switch 1 version on Switch 2, and hopefully that'll run really well. The game does look really fun, and I'm actually pretty excited for it, but I think I'll wait for a Black Friday sale, because Sonic stuff usually goes on sale very, very quickly. But yeah, let me know if you're excited for this game in the comments down below. I definitely want to check it out. I didn't get into the little beta they did, but I heard good things. All right, 2 more smaller things to talk about real quick. Just wanted to highlight this, not necessarily news, however, it is a good sign for those of us that love Level 5. So yesterday, Fantasy Life came out on a Steam, PS5, and Switch. I think it might also be on Xbox, maybe not Xbox, but it's on Steam, PS5, and Switch, and it is doing way better than I expected. So first up, it's at number 1 on the Switch eShop right now, as well as the $70 bundle edition is up there. So there's 2 different SKUs on the Switch eShop that are in the top 10, which is already kind of more than I was expecting. But what I wasn't expecting is that on Steam, the game is blowing up. In fact, and I know comparisons aren't always the smartest thing, especially when they're 2 very different types of games, but Fantasy Life has had a much higher peak at 49,000 on Steam than something like Doom the Dark Ages, which just came out. I love Doom. Dark Ages was really good as well. The fact that Fantasy Life came out, I feel like they didn't, you know, market it really. Level 5 has been kind of a mess the past couple of years, but despite all of the delays, seemingly making it multi-platform was a very smart idea, because nearly 50,000 peak on Steam is nuts. Like, I just didn't expect Fantasy Life to do this well. So good for Level 5. Excited for that Switch 2 version, which they did confirm a couple of weeks back. I hope they get that out very soon, because that's where I want to play the game. I think I could get it on PS5. I could play it on Switch, which runs at 30 FPS, but I think I'll wait for that Switch 2 version, and I'm hoping that comes out sometime this summer. Maybe closer to fall. I hope it's sooner than that, though, because this game's popping off, and I hope this is a good sign for Professor Layton and the New World of Steam later this year, as well as Inazuma 11. I know a lot of people are very excited for that. That comes out in August. So shout out to Level 5. We just gotta, you know, give them a little round of applause. Despite all the fumbles, they finally launched a game that is very popular. Good for them. And then for our final news story today, Elden Ring is coming to Switch 2, so I wanted to talk about this. We talked about the rumor a couple of weeks ago where there was some website no one had ever heard of reporting on Alex Garland, the director of Annihilation as well as Ex Machina. He's the writer for 28 Days Later, which I love. Alex Garland is a real director. People really like Alex Garland. There was a rumor that he was going to be doing an Elden Ring movie with A24, and well, we now know that that is true. Bandai Namco tweeted this out late last night. They said, "We are thrilled to announce that Bandai Namco Entertainment and A24 are teaming up with writer and director Alex Garland to bring From Software's world-renowned video game Elden Ring to life as a live-action film. We're truly excited to bring the world of Elden Ring to fans in a new form outside the game. Stay tuned, the path ahead is only the beginning." So we don't have a release date for this yet. I would assume 2028. It's still going to be a couple of years at least, but this is very exciting. It feels kind of like a weird fit for Alex Garland, because he doesn't really do like the fantasy stuff. He's more like sci-fi-esque, I feel like, in what he makes, but he's a great director. And Elden Ring's weird because it's a Souls game and the stories aren't really told that linearly. You have the Tarnished one or whatever, but you don't have like a core main character. I'm curious to see how this is going to go. A24 is a studio that I really love. I like a lot of the movies they put out, and I trust that they'll do it well. Of course, they're also doing that Death Stranding movie with Kojima. So A24 getting on that video game adaptation gravy train. We'll see how this goes. Elden Ring's a tough one because there's so much there to really unpack in like a 2.5 hour time limit. Like I'm curious how they'll do this. But I am excited to see how this turns out, and maybe this could open the door for a Dark Souls movie, a Demon Souls movie, a Bloodborne, Sekiro movie. Sekiro movie would go hard. Sekiro actually has like a proper, more linear story, unlike other FromSoft games. So a Sekiro movie, ooh, that'd be really good. But that is going to do it for today's video. Let me know your thoughts on all of the stories we discussed in the comments down below. How do you feel about Zelda 2025? Are you on my side and that thinking another Zelda game could be announced and released this year is a little nonsensical? Maybe another NSO game. I don't even know what's left to put on there, but maybe like Four Swords Adventures on GameCube. Maybe they could do for Switch 2, but other than that, I'm not really expecting anything else there. Sonic Racing Crossworlds, we now have the rating for, so that means that game should be coming out within the next couple of months, which was expected. Switch Online had those cool updates with the Game Boy games, some nice Nintendo Today updates, Nobunaga's Ambition, Fantasy Life is a huge hit, which is awesome to see. So let me know your thoughts on all of that in the comments down below. Of course, subscribe here for more Nintendo Switch 2 news videos like this, basically each and every day. Been a little sporadic here, but also uploading a lot over on my second channel, It's Amiibo, so definitely check out that. Follow me on Twitter at BoTalksGames, and of course, as always, you can click on one of these two videos to listen to me ramble about even more Nintendo news. Until next time, folks, peace!